9:45 Central African Time. You're still tuned in to News and Views of myself, Salailo Makwidiri. And we're going to be switching gears to a very, very interesting conversation. The Gauteng taxi industry is threatening to bring the province to a standstill, giving the premier of the province, Panyaza Lissufi, a 7-day, shall we say, ultimatum to intervene in a deepening dispute with Roads and Transport MEC Kidibone Diale Tlhabela. Taxi borders, including SANTACO and the Gauteng National Taxi Alliance, are essentially accusing the MEC of sidelining elected leadership, delaying operating licenses, and creating administrative chaos. The MEC has rejected these claims, insisting her department continues to engage the industry through established channels. And if no agreement is reached, millions and millions of commuters are going to be facing major disruptions. And joining us now to discuss this, shall we say, standoff and what could it mean for commuters and the transport industry, we're joined by Graham Fritz, SANTACO Gauteng spokesperson, who's going to be giving us insight on what their gripe is with the MEC. Graham, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to News and Views. Really appreciate you giving us your time.
Good morning, my good sir, and thank you so much for having me on your show, and good morning to all the listeners.
Pleasure is all ours. I want to jump right into it. SANTACO and all allied organizations have given the Gauteng government a 7-day ultimatum. Can we call it that? What exactly are you demanding before that deadline expires?
Thank you so much, my brother. Yes, the shutdown is actually just a last ultimatum for us. We really would like to have a collaboration between the MEC and also if the premier can attend that meeting so that we can discuss all our challenges and issues on the round table.
I want to come to, I think, what is at the core of this conversation here. The relationship that SANTACO has with the MEC, Kidibone Diale Tlhabela, which looks and feels like it is completely broken down. What specific actions led to that conclusion, to the current state of affairs?
Yeah. There was a time when the MEC issued out notices to go down to the associations. And we, as the industry leadership, we are requesting that the leadership be involved in those meetings as such, referring to the provincial and regional leadership to accompany the MEC to all those meetings. And the MEC has gone to the taxi associations in her own without taking the leadership with her. And that is where we started with this breakdown, It's also regarding the operating licenses, where the MEC was issuing out operating licenses in her capacity as the MEC for roads and transport, and which we really appreciate that these operating licenses are being issued. However, these operating licenses are issued out at different venues, only 2 venues in the region of Tshwane, and also the other one in Johannesburg region. But there's other 3 regions that she has not been issuing it out. It is Sedibeng, West Rand, and Ekurhuleni. However, she issued out once in Ekurhuleni and thereafter none. So what happens is I applied for an operating license in Sedibeng. I then got to travel all the way to Tshwane, Kuduspoort, for the MEC to issue me out with that operating license. And a notice has been sent to me as an operator saying, please come and collect your operating license at this venue and at whatever date the MEC has identified at her convenience. So I've got to travel all the way from Sedibeng, all the way to Kuduspoort. What does that cost me as an operator, after also paying a 600 Rand for applying for this operating license? So, yes, those are the challenges that we are having, and we've been asking the MEC, please talk to us, come to the relevant toll labs or the regions where I have applied for and issue these operating licenses out there. And to date, only the 2 venues are being used, and it is a big challenge for us as the operators. To also just to know that, about in 2023, the MEC created a group called the Crisis Committee to address all these backlogs and the issues of operating licenses. But let me be honest with you, it has helped. 2,000 of those operating licenses that was on backlog of 23,000 operating license was a backlog at that time. So 2,000 was issued, and this is where we are today. Last week, the MEC sent out a notice stating that there are 400 uncollected operating licenses, which will be cancelled by the 14th of August if members hasn't collected it. I mean, if I've got these challenges where I can't collect it, where I don't have the means to collect it, how will I be able to collect it at a later stage?
Very, very concerning. The MEC says, her department meets with taxi leadership, I think, on a quarterly basis and remains quite open to engagement. Why do you believe those meetings are no longer sufficient and they're not bearing any kinds of fruit?
No, that is true. The MEC and her department meets with us as a taxi industry every quarter or so, or whenever there's meetings. However, that's necessary for meetings. However, we're facing the challenge where we have come to a breakdown now after us asking the MEC not to go alone to these individual associations. And that is when we started saying, MEC, please, let us please fix this before we continue with our engagements thereafter. We also we wrote a letter to the Premier to inform him of these challenges that we're sitting with as well. And to date, we are waiting for that response as well.
There's also an argument which, the Gauteng provincial government makes, the fact that they have a responsibility to engage directly with taxi associations and operators. Why do you insist that all communication must go through provincial leadership?
Protocol needs to be followed, my brother, in all cases. The provincial leadership is duly elected and mandated by taxi associations. So we need to be informed and always be there to assist our associations when there are challenges with any issue there at the moment. Also that, remember, as the MEC is saying, that we are meeting with her. So things are being discussed there at that point. And then we can then come up and say, yes, we had discussions with the MEC and it is true or it is false and things like that. So we need to be present there when the MEC is talking to associations. And also more very, very important is that to iron out some issues like conflicts, which the MEC is assisting with. And thank you so much, MEC. She assists with that as well. At such meetings. And that's where we will then sit together and say, yes, let's solve all these issues together.
At the end of it all, if this shutdown does go ahead, it is always ordinary commuters who bear the brunt. How do you justify taking action that could leave millions and millions of South Africans stranded?
To be honest, my brother, we would prefer not to go that route. We want to meet with the MEC. We want to meet with the Premier so that we can iron out all these challenges that we are facing at the moment.
And is there still room for negotiation, or has trust between the taxi industry, SANTACO specifically, and the MEC been damaged beyond repair?
No. There's no damage beyond repair, my brother. We are open for negotiations and talks, and our table is always and any time available for any meeting, as long as the MEC and the Premier is also available to have it with us.
And you also asked for the Premier of Gauteng, Mr. Panyaza Lesufi, to intervene. What would you like that intervention to look like? What do you hope it achieves?
Well, as I say, so that he can assist us with the MEC, so that she can come to the table and listen to us. Because we've had talks with the MEC. However, the MEC has now said no, she don't want to continue with the talks with us anymore and not having meetings with us anymore because of the meetings that we requested. It has not been attended to, and that's why we're asking the Premier to intervene and say, come, MEC, let's talk together with the taxi industry as such.
And lastly, before I let you go, ordinary South Africans who are listening right now, the taxi commuters of Gauteng who are possibly worried after seeing the headlines of another possible province-wide shutdown, what message do you have for them?
Our people We don't want to do this. We don't want to have a strike. But unfortunately, if there's no communication between the Transport Department and the Premier of Gauteng, we will have to have a shutdown. But honestly, it is not what we want as a taxi industry. We know that there's a lot of people out there. It's 80% of South Africans that we transport on a daily basis, and we really don't want to have a shutdown as such. We know that it is the poorest of the poor that is using the transport of the taxi industry, and hence we've always been there. We've always said, this is our people, and we want to continue with servicing our people of the South Africa.
Well, there you have it, Mr. Graham Fritz, the spokesperson of the South African National Taxi Council. Really appreciate you giving us your time, and I hope we chat again soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you have it. Unpacking, I think, Mr. Fritz, the growing dispute between the Gauteng taxi industry and the provincial government, always at loggerheads, those two institutions. And we'll see with this 7-day deadline now in place, all eyes will be on whether negotiations can prevent a shutdown that could disrupt transport for millions and millions of commuters across Gauteng. We'll continue to track this very, very important story. And what does it mean, as you heard from Mr. Fritz, for the poorest of the poor people, 80% of South Africans who are the primary commuters of the taxi industry here in the country. And with that, we've come to the end of today's edition of News and Views. Thank you so much for staying with us for the past 2 hours. I'll be back with you again tomorrow for the Wednesday edition of the show. Julie Ali will be following up next with Mid-Mornings with Julie Ali. And as I mentioned, I'll be back with you again tomorrow. And yeah, that's it. We're done. Go, son. Shap, shap.